The key themes that we're expecting to emerge in 2021, I suppose the most important part is the post-COVID period. What's the effect of that? Broadly, we think that economies around the world, governments around the world in particular, are going to be focused on stimulus over the next year or two, and with a view to re-enlivening their economies. Now, everybody knows that raw materials and resources from Australia in particular are in great demand during any phase of stimulus. So I do expect there to be quite a turnaround. We are seeing quite an abrupt change already in our particular prices in coal, but you're seeing it across gas and oil as well. So the energy complex as a whole is moving forward quickly, and I do think that's indicative of this broader stimulus movement to re-enliven economies. Where do I think the commodity picks are outside of coal in 2021? Again, coming back to the thematic of a broad-based economic improvement from a global perspective, I think the way to look at this is all these minerals are going to be used more of during this period. Now, which of those can reply or respond from a supply perspective, and which ones are really captive to longer lead times associated with new supply? And that would be the filter that I would look at in terms of where I see this going. I think copper is interesting. It's broadly growth related, correlated, and supply is hard to find and bring on. The iron ore has been doing well, as everybody knows, and so it will do well. But I do think that the temporary, supply constraints that have been applicable over the last year or two will unwind in this post-COVID period. Coal's a good one. I think it's very hard to get a new mine approved and up and running, and so that does provide a barrier to entry in a sense. And so that tells you that we're going to have some improvement in pricing for the outlook period. But for me, I like copper. I think it's hard to find, it's hard to bring on in scale, and I do think that's very strongly correlated with growth, which the world is chasing at the moment. And what does it mean to be the managing director of a natural resources company in 2021? It's a strange old world we're living in, there's no doubt. In 2021, I think our country needs every industry to continue to play its part. Very nicely, I think the resources sector in Australia played a great role in 2020, underpinning the economy and being able to move relatively seamlessly through COVID, the worst of COVID, hopefully past us now. So it's all about, how do we meet the demand for a world that's trying to re-enliven their economies? How do we keep our costs down when the world is not, it's in a relatively fragile state? And how do we bring on technology to help us to meet the challenges of not just demand, but then also scarcity of resources from a human capital perspective in 2021. You can see already in Australia that the unemployment rate has come down quite quickly already since the peak of the worst of the COVID period in 20. So I do think that will be an ongoing feature of the balance that we're playing within the industry for 2021. But and as you know, and it's always a contested space, the resources sector. So the resources companies need to explain to people the benefit of their presence. We think that people get it, but I think generally we need to explain that better. And so I think the resources sector across the spectrum needs to play a bigger role in helping people understand the underpinning role that our industry plays in our economy.